Hello everybody. In PED 387, we're going to go over how to create your lesson plans by looking at some of the examples and then also looking at our unit plans and team sports, fitness, dance, and yoga activities that I just uploaded. So first, you'll notice that I have a couple example lesson plans for you. And first, what I want you to do is go over the example lesson plans, because that's going to give you an idea of what I'm looking for when you start planning. I don't think they're going to be as specific as these ones, because these ones were done by interns, and I know you have maybe a year or two to go until that happens. So what I want you to do is just give me your best shot at it, especially for that first one. 2, make sure that your agenda is on point. You know exactly what you're going to be doing with the class. For example, this has a PowerPoint presentation for 10 minutes. You won't be using any PowerPoint presentations, and you're not going to use 10, 15 minute, 20 minutes to close and have a dress out. Okay, so it looks like there was about 35, 45, 55, 65, about 40 minutes of learning and practice. So you'll be able to go through these lesson plans and kind of figure out how you want to utilize your lesson plan, but just know where to get some of this stuff. So essential standards, if you're wondering where to find those, or the clarifying objectives, all you would do is go to modules. Okay, and then you'd want to go to your teaching toolkit, and you'll have your NC essential standards. And what you'll do is you'll find the grade level, 7th, 8th, or 9th grade, and you'll notice that it'll say K, that means kindergarten, that means first. So you'd want to scroll all the way down until 7th, 8th, or 9th grade until you find this, and then you might find something. Okay, here's one you're going to copy. Copy, and then what you would do is you would paste it into your lesson plan. Okay, so that's where you find your standards. Okay, so your essential questions, or what do you want them to know, or what are you trying to get away? So here's his question: is what lifelong activities enhance health, physical fitness, and mental and emotional wellness? This is obviously a yoga class, so if you're teaching yoga, you can use this if you're teaching it. Key vocabulary: practice breathing, technique, yoga, poses, asana, create, conduct, sequence, chakra. So those are different vocabulary words he's using. Well, you're going to notice that our new lesson plan template is a little bit different. So if you go here, I have it laid out for you. You're going to have a central focus, so whether that's team building or gameplay. So central focus for your first day would be an introduction to handball. Second day would be cooperative activities and skill performance, and then central focus for your third day would be gameplay, right? What materials you need, and the agenda for today. Notice that there's not a lot of space here. You can make these spaces as big or as small as you want. Okay. Your assessment, like how are you engaging, how are you assessing them? So if you go to modules, you go to your team sports. So let's just go to unit plan handball. We talked about this the other day, and there's different ways you can assess. So you might say, I'm going to be assessing, let's see, grip, balance, step to target, extension, and finish, and they have the name of the student. So you would just say you are testing the complexity of the different variables, such as beginner, all the way down to what you would think would be appropriate. So here's some different ways you can assess handball. I'll let you look at that on your own time. We go back to that example, or we go back to our EdTPA lesson plan. So you'll be using this, it's called the EdTPA lesson plan template, when you start filling out your lesson plans. So the mini lesson We're going to go back to our example. So the mini lesson, teacher will discuss, you're kind of slowly going over what you're going to be teaching the student. So what do you want them to know first? And then what will the teacher do to help them learn that? And then what will the student be doing independently? Okay, and that's what that means. And then students, what are the students doing during this time? Okay, they're going to recognize and explain the different types of yoga because he's teaching it here. Students will analyze and identify as the teacher demonstrates breathing techniques and poses. So this all relates to the one across. So closing, how are you going to close? Looks like an exit slip. Don't worry about homework. If you want to have homework, you can. If you wanted to tell them to say, if you wanted to have them do homework and bring it, and that's totally fine. It's up to you. Accommodations, modifications. So if we have any individuals with disabilities, or how are you going to make things harder or easier for individuals? And then your section 1, planning for instruction. This is when you're going to tell me the purpose of the lesson plan. Why are you teaching handball? Why is it important? And then the plan and the purpose and the reasons behind that. So previous learning experiences. If you haven't worked with them before, then there isn't any. But the following week, you'll have prior learning experiences that you can fill out. So your second lesson plan will have this. How are you planning for student learning needs? You're making sure that it's safe, you're making sure that it's cooperative, that you're making sure it's friendly, just how are you meeting each of the different learning needs, and then you can read that. Assessment strategies, so looking at different ways you can assess. So he's asking, how can yoga be a lifelong activity, improves health, fitness, mental focus, and emotion? So those are some guiding questions. He's going to have a pre-assessment to establish a baseline of prior knowledge. So this means that he's going to ask them questions. He might have them take a test in the beginning to see how much they know about it. And this doesn't mean that you need a pen. They all need pens and papers. This means that they can say it out loud. He's got written. We won't be doing any written assessments unless you want to bring in 25 pencils and papers, but all of our assessments will be observational and questions and answers, and if you want, you can have an exit slip at the end. Student voice, so you won't have this in your first lesson plan, but you will have it in your second lesson plan. So tell me about what they said about that first lesson plan. Okay, what will they be able to do? What type of evidence or artifacts, journals, exit slips, works, samples, rubrics, self-assessments. So we won't be going too far into artifacts because this is your first experience. But again, like I said, if you want to go above and beyond, you can have exit slips, you can test them, you can get as much as you can. How will students reflect? Well, after class, you want to talk to them. During class, they should be critiquing and answering questions, probing questions. Arrangement for students' instruction. So you're going to tell me how they're going to be during the main focus of your activity. Where are they going to be during any of the activities? And then here's where you're going to actually talk about, how you're going to introduce the class. You're going to tell me, the introduction of handball, introduction of dance, where it comes from. And then you're going to go through the learning sequence of activities and steps. And then anything that supports the student learning. So Bloom's taxonomy, if you've never heard of Bloom's taxonomy, then I will help you with that. You would just go to your modules and you would go to your domains of learning. And you can go over to Bloom's here, and so you can look at all these types of different ways that students can learn. Okay, and then going back to that lesson plan, all the way down, you'll have the learning sequence supporting student learning, and then closure, independent practice, and instructional materials. So let's go ahead and check that out. Example lesson plan. Okay, so you're going to tell me how you're going to close the class. You know, he's doing exit slips, but you're going to be probably doing questions and answers, and you can write that information down on your clipboard. Independent practice, so there has to be time in the class where they are doing things alone or with a group without you, and you're just facilitating. For example, when they're in stations, say if you're at playing, for example, when we were doing the 1-on-2s or 2-on-1s for handball, that would be independent practice. Or when they are performing skills on their own, that would be independent practice. And then any instructional materials or resources that you use. So Spark, he uses Spark PE handbook. You'll be using information and guides that are already on Canvas. So you would just write, you know, physical fitness PDF or fitness objectives. And so when you go here, you're going to see all the different classes that we'll be teaching. So for example, if you're teaching volleyball, you're going to click on the volleyball unit plan, and you're going to have a good description of all the different activities that you can teach. It's not going to upload right now. Alright, so if you have any other questions, just email me, and this is just a brief overview of how to fill those lesson plans out. I'll see you soon.